Welcome to Second Wind, a show by the team at Also Known As, where we talk to colleagues and friends that inspire us. GMUNK AKA Bradley Munkowitz is a pioneer, a futurist, and quite possibly a visitor from another dimension. GMUNK's work has been exhibited and sold at Christie's, Sotheby's, and in fine art galleries around the world. His projection mapping opus Box is one of the most viral short films ever made and won prestigious awards including the Cannes Lion Grand Prix and SIGGRAPH's Best in Show. He produced one of the world's most iconic image campaigns with the Microsoft Windows 10 desktop wallpaper, seen by over 1 billion people worldwide. He pioneered early augmented reality concepts by designing the holographic content in science fiction pillars Tron, Legacy, and Oblivion. You did the Top Gun interfaces too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just had your second kid. How's that going?
4 months old. We just started sleep training, I think 2 or 3 days ago, and it's going pretty well, actually.
My kids slept through the night last night. They're 5 and 6.
Congrats.
That was a big accomplishment for us.
Mine did not.
Ooh, are you getting that?
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, I like that.
Greatest hits are always, Tron Legacy designed all, 12 minutes of holographic content in the film. Oblivion designed all the interfaces in the film. Top Gun Maverick, as we were talking about, did Kin, working on the new Tron film, the Tron Ares. Windows Desktop was a photo. Laser projector, behind a window with holes cut in it. It was a whole camera mapping laser feast. And then we just composited a bunch of the passes together to make the final image. And then Box.
So people would see this now and think, oh, special effects, right?
Yeah, this is all done in camera. The camera's on a third robot. There's it's not even a screen. This is just a canvas on a robotic arm, and it's projection mapped. So they figured out how to projection map on moving objects. And then we just wanted to play up the illusion of depth in the screen as much as we could, so it felt like a magic trick. And it's a 5-chapter, about a 5.5-minute film, 5-chapter magic show on these illusions of depth and different styles. It was the whole thing was done through the op art lens. So we just shot it over and over and tested and tested and tested. Failed for a year straight, and then finally, at the very end, we kind of figured it out. Yeah, it's all in camera though. There's nothing. You can even see our mistakes. You can see scan lines. You can see the projection lagging on the canvas. It's never perfect. That's kind of the point. It's a whole camera mapping experiment. There's 4 lucky breaks in my career. One was my first job out of college. Was a fluke. I entered a competition at the New Vision Media Awards when I was 22 years old. Entered a flash competition, and happened to win best, the best in show of it. And there were recruiters from this amazing studio doing experimental flash work that were there at the festival recruiting, and I got recruited. And they basically assembled all the best designers in Europe and took 2 Americans and shipped them all off to London to work together. And that was my first job. And if I wouldn't have entered the competition, I wouldn't have had that exposure, wouldn't have learned design like I did. It's wild, it's wild. Life is so interesting that way. I met my wife while crossing paths at a design conference in Spain. And if I wasn't going into the room, she saw me speak the day before. And then the next day, if someone had stopped me, or if I stopped to buy a t-shirt or anything to delay me a minute, 2 minutes, I wouldn't have crossed paths with her, and we wouldn't have met and hung out. And now we're married with 2 children. It's fucking wild how life is like that. It's just crazy. Yeah. And then the big break was speaking on a panel at FITC Toronto, and Joseph Kosinski was on the same panel. And it was right before he was about to do Tron Legacy. And he and I, met on the panel, talk, and he was always into my early flash work. He was into Mandingo, the big bodybuilder flash site I made back in the day. And he was a trainer. He was a trainer at Crunch Fitness in New York City.
Was he wearing this at the
he was
crunch, or is
not.
this a
He
no?
was
This
not.
is
And he was
wardrobe.
just a funny guy. Like he was just
Yeah.
a cool, funny guy, always heckling everybody. Can I get you in front of a green screen and let's just do some shit? And wear your most like offensive muscle leotard. Like, there's never a moment in my career where I'm not doing a personal project ever.
So Muscle Man brought you to Tron.
And then the bot and dolly move. I just happened to land at this fucking amazing studio with amazing people, and a lot of those people are really, really close friends still. And I got into so many different disciplines through the exposure to all the different people. Like there was a resident cinematographer that taught me full spectrum photography, taught me cinematography. I wouldn't be a live action director if I didn't meet him. We shot everything. He shot the Windows 10. He shot Box. Joe Picard. I pretty much owe a huge part of my lens-based approach to him. He's the doctor, Dr. Picard. Telestron was the next robotic piece after Box, and it was really wanting to explore volumetric light in the space. This was one of the real hard ones, like it was learning how to do cabling, cabling on the robots and breaking cables to the lights, because there's so much cables from the lights, and like pulling the thing all the time and breaking cables. It was, there's water around the robots. Every time we break a cable, we'd have to fucking put on boots and get in the water and shit. It was just like one of those. It was early days. Now, even when we did Decima, and we had laser projectors and all sorts of crazy shit on these things. It was flawless. It was flawless because of the learnings on this one. This one was it was hard. It was one of those that you show up, you got your gear, and you have like 5 days to finish the show, and you just fucking program it for 5 days. A bunch of kids in a cold warehouse, just fucking figuring it out on the fly, kind of. I mean, obviously everything's previs and all of it's ready and stuff, but there were a lot of learnings on this one. We rebuilt it in Los Angeles at the Row. It had some more room ambient lights. It was a different show. It wasn't as spread out. It was a little more intimate.
It was super cool. I didn't see the Houston one, but I remember being blown away when I attended it.
Totem was a much lower budget. It's me and a buddy named Harvey Moon. We're in a dark theater in Toronto for 4 days programming this 8-minute show, which is a sound healing ceremony. And this totem we brought to life in the same way that we, brought the machines to life in Decima and Telestron and even Box in a way. We brought this thing to life with a voice. It talks and it laughs and it cries, and it's like, it doesn't laugh or cry really, but you can hear a change in its voice. There's something inside of there, and we just do all this illusions of depth on this shape. The idea comes from this. We get the space, we rough out the space and just start to feel it. Like how does it fit in there? And we came up with just this ridiculous hanging from the rafters, floating form that comes to a perfect connection point with this triangular base, and it's just this gnarly form hanging from the ceiling, and we fucking made it. We fabricated it, we hung it from the rafters, we did the tension point as tight as we could.
The festival just wanted a sort of centerpiece experience, like an installation.
It was called the Psychedelic Show.
Yeah.
And it was in Toronto, and it was a whole kind of gallery museum experience on the history of psychedelics. And then this was the final act in the show, where you walk into the theater and this is there. And it's just on an 8-minute loop, and it's huge. It's fucking thing is just massive.
So they told you, this is the space, this is the festival.
Yeah.
What do we do?
Yeah, do something. And I just, every project I take away something that I want to do next always. There's always something that you learn in the process, and you're like, okay, I want to do that next. It's like, okay, I learned a smoke simulation software called Embergen. And I learned this for a CG piece,
Beautiful.
a smoke simulation lit by an invisible fire. So you don't see the flames, but it's lighting the billowing smoke with any color I want. And then, collaborating with a guy called Ronnie Khalil, it's like, take this smoke sim and make it into blooming flowers, using stable diffusion. Before Animate Diff was out, just what can you do with this? And, we cleaned it up. We got it pretty much noise free. And, I look at something like this. This is old. This is maybe a year and a half old. But I look at something like this, and it's a year and a half ago, and you're like, oh shit, like AI is coming, and you can use this in really clever ways. Like, how the hell would we do this before AI? Like, I have no idea how I would ever make this. It would need to be like the tightest cell animation ever. Like, how the hell would this even be possible before AI? I mean, you could do it. I'm sure you could do it with cell animation, but it would take you, a month, probably a month and a half, 2 months to really get this. And it could be as long as you want. Like, it's wild. It's totally wild. Change the flower on the spot. Okay, we're going to change it from lilies to peonies, or mandala, whatever you want. It's once you have the system, you just change the input. It just happens. It's amazing. It's amazing.
You're very hands-on with the work that you do, and there's a lot of just like jumping in and figuring things out.
Because of my background in motion design, and high detail maximalist motion design for so long, that craft was always a priority. Like, it was always, there's so much craft in my foundation in motion design, graphic design, and editing, all of it, that I just never want to lose that. And then from all of that went into photography. I'll be taking pictures until I'm 80, 85 years old. I'll be taking pictures. I want to be, I look at Martin Scorsese, I look at Roger Deakins, these guys in their 70s, late 70s doing this stuff at the level they're doing it. And that's just gives me everything I need, to just keep going. Do you guys want to see the new shit? A little bit of background. I've shot full spectrum photography for a really long time. It's called In for Monk. I don't know. I think I started this over a decade ago. Basically, you modify the sensor to see the full spectrum of light. So you pull a bunch of, there's like infrared light and ultraviolet light blockers that are a part of the sensor. And you can send it away to like a Kalari Vision or a Life Pixel, and you can get them to remove the infrared and ultraviolet blockers so the camera sees the full spectrum of light. They use them
modify
a lot on
the camera.
satellites. So like
Right.
the James Webb satellite sees the full spectrum of light. That's why it's able to gather so much more light and just get so much more detail. And it gives you, it's a really hard way to shoot, because you don't really know what you're shooting. When you're shooting it, everything's kind of purple and orange, and you just try to find contrast with rock formations, skies, water. You try to find the contrast to guide your compositions. It's a totally different way of shooting. This has kind of been my, obsession because every scene, every lighting condition is completely different set of rules. You just have no idea what things are going to look like. It's kind of hard to shoot on sunny days. I remember this was a sunny day on a helicopter in Hawaii, up in Mount Tam. The fog is just so fun to shoot it through because it kind of becomes this depth mat in a way. Once I started playing around with AI, this was in, almost 2 years ago now, I took a photo of a tree in the fog. This is the photo. And I used stable diffusion to, create all these different looks with it. We figured out a way to make the transition happen in motion really slow and really gradual, where it's kind of becomes hypnotic in a way, because you don't see it initially. It's so slow.
What's the base for this? Is this some of your InfraMonk shot?
Yeah, it's a tree in the fog, and then with full spectrum photography, you can color grade it. And what I love about shooting full spectrum in the fog is, like, look at the gradient of tones here. We were in Ubud. I saw the full moon, and the clouds were moving so fast that I was like, the lighting on that valley is going to be amazing. And I brought my tripod for this trip because I was like, I'm going to shoot something on this trip. And what came of it was this time lapse. And funny enough, this wasn't actually the valley one I captured, and it was a time lapse, but I didn't use it. I used this one, which is basically, panning right to like the side of the valley where I found these palm trees, and it's time lapse. So the light is changing. So that's why the light is pulsing, because the moon is behind the clouds, and then it's revealed, and then the clouds are covering it. So the light is all changing on the.
So what do you see when you're there? You see black. It's just dark.
Black.
You don't see any of this detail, but the camera's been modified so it sees a broader spectrum of light.
It's also long exposure. So, these are, I don't know, 5-second exposures, so it's capturing 5 seconds worth of light to get it. And then I did the breathing technique on these. But this one was harder because it was a time lapse. And so, the clouds are moving, and just to get it to feel in motion was really, really difficult. And the one thing I'll say about AI now is just, there's an opportunity to do some really psychedelic work. And craft has always been a hindrance for me in terms of like a lot of the really psychedelic work that I want to do, I don't know how to make. It's too detailed. It's too hard to make. And now I think with AI, it's like I would never be able to make that before AI. This was kind of, some aerial photography from Iceland out of a helicopter, not with a drone, out of a helicopter with a gnarly medium format camera, just like hyper detail, just getting crazy bionic camera shooting aerials. And I think some of these of the rock formations, like that's a drone photograph in Factory Butte, which is a very popular landscape photography destination. It's fucking amazing from a drone. It's just so cool. I love erosion. I think like a lot of the aesthetics that I really gravitate towards are either really psychedelic or really textural, kind of perception of scale, textures, natural textures, natural, always natural. And then recently I did a high nanometer, like 850 nanometers, which means you're way deep in the infrared spectrum, out of a helicopter in British Columbia, and just wherever the sun is hitting, it turns kind of white, and it just looks like.
How do you decide what you're going to bring to the landscape? Is it just like you're just trying things, or you go in with a really detailed
in the helicopter, you're basically watching the light, and I know that high nanometer infrared photography like this is good in sunlight because you get the light and shadow contrast, and that's what really drives a black and white photo is light and dark. If it's cloudy, I use a different filter. I either use like a 590, 550 nanometer filter, which is kind of a very purple and yellow. It's either purple and yellow or purple and orange, and then if it's a hybrid situation, there's filters now where you can do the channel swap in camera. So you can swap the red and blue channels in camera. So you can kind of see red foliage and blue skies. And sometimes I use those filters because I'm finding with those filters, you can get more definition and detail out of everything. And then you channel swap it back. So that's a recent discovery from the drone work. So this is like, Darkest Lake, British Columbia, me and two homies on a photo trip last July, just like Patagonia sweatshirt, no shirt underneath, sweatpants on a dock on a glacial lake, just like flying my drone. Eagles are surrounding us. My homie James is laying down with his Hasselblad next to him. This is just, my dad used to take like sailing trips and fish with his old Jewish guys, and I take photo trips. Photo trips are like, or like blatant, like rent a mansion in Palm Springs with my best friend's trip, which is like, trash bagging trips, But this is kind of some of the full spectrum drone, this vibe, it's full spectrum drone. And this is the new thing for me because
Beautiful.
I got tired of the technical, just like dealing with 9K, 9K time lapses. There's 800 images, all 9K, and it's just such a pain in the ass to deal with it.
A lot of gigs.
Yeah, it's just hard. And I feel like still photography is not enough motion for what I want to do. Like I need more movement in things. And so this is some of that work. This one's 50 frames a second. Yeah, so this is one of those things. It's like it's sunny conditions, and infrared's
Is this infrared? This is infrared?
This is infrared. Yeah, this is infrared. Wow. This is infrared. So the kelp in the water is turning red. But then when it's under the water, it's still green. Like I said, you don't know what you're gonna get. It's seeing a little bit more detail in the water.
Wow. This different light.
This one breathing is going to be really insane. And I'm not to that point yet. Look at that. I clipped the highlights. Look at that shit. I clipped the highlights right there. It was one of the clips that I used at the end of the clip. I fucking stopped down because I was, exposing for the shadows, and I clipped the highlights, and it kills me. But it'll be far into breathing by the time you see that. So no one will know except people on this podcast will know, and people who see me speak live.
Dozens and dozens of fans.
This is another one, but it's using a different filter. So it's a different. It's the filters basically determine what kind of light reaches the sensor.
Wow.
And so
this is a fire.
Kind of like this one breathing is going to be insane. This one breathing is going to be really interesting too. And I'm just enjoying the, working with video. I've completely gone, ninja level in DaVinci Resolve to rebuild all this, because now it's like going from Lightroom to DaVinci Resolve, because your video now, you have to use DaVinci Resolve. So this is kind of the piece that I'm working on right now. And, it's kind of this flyover of this river. And you're just kind of getting really close to all the trees, and then this is a little bit more faded, just because it's raw. But you can kind of see that now I'm making it breathe into all sorts of different things, and it's kind of a different. It's like everything's about movement now, movement and cadence, and this is all non-upscaled, no deflicker, just raw renders, going to town with raw renders just to kind of get the flow of things right. And it kind of just goes into these altered states. The
water there just looks incredible.
Yeah.
You're kind of using like nature's data of sorts to get to this, or are there any sort of like, I guess we'll call them synthetic materials, like actual data points that you'd be interested in exploring how you visualize that?
I think like this is and I'll show you the process for these in a second, but like look at like that, like you know what it is. It's like trees in a river, but then the rivers turn into open air atmosphere.
That's so cool.
And it's so awesome, right? It's just like, I fucking love this shit. Like this one is kind of like, kind of flowery, this one's like smaller flowers, and
I see a lot of coral.
Yeah. Coral, especially in the early looks, like this is kind of coral. It's I'm having a lot of fun with this because, I spent a lot of time when I was in college in the redwood forest in Arcata, California, in Humboldt County. A lot of time in the forest, tripping out on redwoods, ferns, just like literally, you're 20 years old, and you're just, you're really getting into psilocybin for the first time, and you're just tripping out on amazing power nature of redwoods and ferns and fungus and growth and mushrooms and moss, Pacific Northwest texture. And now it's kind of with some of the AI tools, I kind of feel like I'm back there again, and I wanted to show you this. This is where it all happens. So I usually start in Mid-Journey, and just playing with stuff, and the amount of iteration is just so wild. I've gone uber ninja level on Mid-Journey because I just see this as the pathway forward. Like, any one of these images would take me weeks to make, and you're outputting hundreds in 10, 15 minutes.
So you were doing a shit ton of copy pasting of text for these prompts, or what?
Kinda, yeah. I mean, you find stuff that works. You find your image refs. You find your style refs, character refs.
You're giving it multiple image references
imagery.
And then
You're
specifying
giving them all the imagery, and and I was kind of and then we try them, and then we try these on the video, So I'll show you all that too. I just want to show you the breadth of the research. Tricky, come here.
Yeah.
The breadth of the research is just so heavy.
You're ruining the podcast, dog. No, I'm kidding. We like
I
dogs on this
wasn't
podcast.
going to bring my dog to the studio.
No, it's okay. This is a dog and cat friendly podcast.
My daughter stopped by for a second.
Yeah. Okay, so you get the point. There's thousands of these, and lately I've just been kind of like, okay, what if these trees are in the clouds? What does that feel like? Trees in the clouds.
Have you tried other generative AI visual platforms? You like Mid-Journey?
Yeah. I took a class from.
Brought to you by Mid-Journey.
I know. I took I mean, look at this shit, dude. Like, I can't. Like, this is not.
Who owns Mid-Journey? I've forgotten.
What's that?
Or is it who owns Mid again? I've forgotten.
I have no idea.
Yeah,
I have no idea. It's incredible, man. I just.
Our producers look that up.
I've looked at other things built on Stable Diffusion, Flux. Flux is a part of our pipeline, but then putting it underwater, like the little color blooms are from like a style reference of a still life of flowers, the coral, the fog, underwater photography. It's just, you're just feeding it images and just coming out with recipes. And, this is
privately held company, David Hulse, who was formerly of Leap Motion. I don't know if you remember Leap Motion. I do remember that from my first days.
What we do is we bring it into Animate Diff. So you can kind of see here, like the, here, let me just get you there. See that this is the style reference that I make in Mid-Journey. This is Animate Diff applied to the video, but it's still in flux. It's still in flux. It's basically flux. This is Mid-Journey Flux. So it changes a little bit, right? And then from there, we load both. We start testing, and you can kind of see it here. It's like we test, different things. So you can kind of see these are the source. This is the source. This is the video. So this is applied to my drone video now, so you can kind of see, this is the source. This is from Flux. You can kind of tell, it's a little bit more clean in a way, not quite as atmosphere. And then this is applied to the video. And you can tell, that like, okay, it's picking up these flower bit, these plant bits here, this one is kind of like this spore thing. It's picking
so you're
up
telling Mid-Journey, take this style, apply it to this video, essentially.
Yeah, this is Animate Diff.
Right. Okay.
This is Flux. Yeah. I make my collaborator makes Flux and we output an Animate Diff. And, it's just a dance of just, this is where the flower one comes from. It's just this blooming leaves, it's and then you bring it in, you edit it, you export depth mats, you mix them perfectly.
We might need to get your stack for the show notes. I feel like everybody has a bit of a stack nowadays. We'll add your tech stack to the show notes because it's probably beyond my comprehension.
This is stuff that's like, this is not public at all. I don't even know why the fuck I'm showing it right now, but
We don't have to. We don't have to include it.
You know?
The pod's an hour 27, but we are the Joe Rogan Experience type of show. So
I don't know, man. I'm just giving you the.
We can cut anything that you're not comfortable sharing too.
I mean, no,
so
I'm
it's all
cool
good.
sharing this because it's kind of nice that it's,
Without
I'm
dozens.
not worried. I'm not protective of techniques or anything like that.
Yeah.
Well,
I think what's interesting is like, I feel like a lot of our dozens and dozens of listeners will, people haven't figured out, like, how do I use AI tools to do cool stuff like this?
Yeah.
And so I think, hearing from someone who's tried a bunch of stuff and figured out like a workflow that, does things like that, I feel like that's a real nice shortcut for people.
Everybody's got their thing, like you'll most likely talk to Tyler, and he's a master at Google Veo too, making all sorts of wild short films with it. I can't do text to video. I have to shoot the source, with my photography has to be the source.
Yeah.
That's kind of my rule. Or if I'm doing
like love language
CG or something, for stuff that I would, but then, with the learnings on this, I wrote a short film that I'm going to do at the end of the year once this is done. And there's all these hallucinations in it. And I would probably go back to either shoot dry ice, with all sorts of color coming through it, all sorts of shit, shoot some dry ice and use that as the source, and then go back and do the process over where, the things I want to create for the hallucinations, I'll get applied to the dry ice. So there's all this nice undulation. This is all about, tree formations, parallax, flight paths, shit like that. And that would be all about the dry ice undulations and stuff, forming coral and tunnels and growths and anything and everything, all sorts of cool shit. I think every one of my projects is going to have some component of AI just because it enables you to do way more. There's no obstacles for visualizing things, which is amazing because I got a lot of fucking ideas that I haven't been able to visualize for decades.
Is there anything as an artist that scares you about the technology? Do you think that the democratization of creation, will flood the market with cheaper, less refined content?
I don't know. I mean, I kind of feel like everything's going to kind of change and you just got to run with it. I think that there's going to be super anti-AI everything. I don't follow the simulation. I kind of checked out years ago, took the blue pill and checked out of what others are doing and news and social media. I don't have my mind likes to, I'm really into meditation and all of that and just clear mind without, I already have with the family life enough going
Noise
on that I don't need to be thinking about a million other things that you do with social media and stuff and trends. I just try to, we're professionals, we're supporting our families, we just try to make a living. So I'm trying to just win the game, and just look at the trends and see. But, you go to museums, it's, still all oil paintings, you go to photography exhibits, it's still all film photography. You look at, Vogue, Esquire magazines, there's all film photography in there. So, I mean, I think that craft is not over. I just think that the creative process is going to change. And I don't know, I don't think in like high-end visual effects right now, I don't think they can use AI because it's too low res. I think, it's still a bit of a niche thing. I think, posting on an iPhone, you can't tell any of the flaws, but looking on a movie screen, you can.
Speaking of process, do you have one? Are you someone who wakes up at 6 a.m, works for 4 hours, and then, goes off, relaxes for the day, and comes back to it? Or is it really, where each day takes you to a degree?
We have a 4-month-old going through sleep training right now. So sometimes he wakes up the 3-year-old. It's fucking chaos. But I just stay really organized and methodical about my time. I have my little routines. I have my beverages that I drink and the weed.
Let's see that thing. Bring it into the frame properly.
I have my weed that I like to smoke. I have my beverages I like to drink. I have my stretch routine. I drink a matcha latte every Monday morning,
One a week.
because just once a week, just because the Tron film is so gnarly, and I have to like you direct a team of 12 who are each doing a completely different task in like a really hardcore design world. So Monday morning, I just need to like bring the heat to them every Monday. And I'll probably continue that after Tron's over. Dude, I've crashed a couple drones sober.
Me too. I
And
have
it's
to.
expensive,
Yeah.
And so
Right.
my
Okay.
rule is do not fly under the influence. I need to be ninja sharp for that shit.
Do you do FPV or is it mostly
No,
just?
not yet.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
yet.
Pretty interesting.
I want to get my Part 107 license. I'm gonna be, like the stuff I showed you is so early days. It's literally V1 of it. That's like,
Yeah.
the beginning. And I want to become a really, really beautiful drone cinematographer for my full spectrum. And the next, I'm going to train for a year, and then I'm going to go to Madeira Island in Portugal and kill. I'll probably buy 2 drones and just hose it down and make some beautiful
Hose it
work.
down. I
Hose it
learned
down.
this when I was your model at GitHub. Hose it down, Jake. Just means get all the coverage,
All the coverage.
right?
Yeah,
Just hose
Yeah.
it down.
That's a
That makes
Kevin
sense.
Gosselin. He's a cinematographer. That's a Kevin Gosselin nugget
Ism.
right there. He would always say,
Right.
hose it down. I just believe I'm 49. I have 2 young kids. I'm hustling, running a home in Berkeley, California. I just found that meditation is the best therapy for me. It just slows me down to the moment. It checks all my thought. I have a very overactive mind. Like my mind is hyperactive.
Really?
And
Would not have guessed that at all.
And so meditation kind of quiets all the extra stuff that I don't need to pay attention to, and just focuses me in on. And I meditate for probably like 30 minutes a day, 20
great.
to 30 minutes a day.
Amazing.
And the best way to do it is right after I put my kid to sleep, which is usually like an hour affair, of trying to get him to sleep. He's basically exactly like me. So he has all the
How much of that
energy.
hour are you lying down next to her?
Yeah, I mean, I'm lying down on the floor next to him, telling him stories until he starts
Oh,
to
that's
like
nice.
kind
That's
of slow
magic.
down. Oh
Yeah.
my God, I fucking make up probably 2 to 3 stories a day.
That's
for him.
awesome.
I tell him, and it always starts like I don't know what I'm going to tell him, and then it always starts. Once upon a time, there was a whatever comes to my mind in that split second, and then it just goes. Then it just proliferates.
You should record some of those.
I know.
I was gonna say, I think you might find your text to video kind of explode there. I've used that for my daughter a couple of times, and I'm not a great storyteller, and I certainly don't possess your imagination, but like it's crazy fulfilling to help them realize something that they imagine in that way. Like it's just AI is kind of transformative for parents trying to kill time.
Yeah, absolutely. And my kid always looks at photos and wants to hear sound and see it move, always. So
So
yeah,
that's
it's a
really
good point. But after I put him down, I'm usually kind of like, okay, and then I just after the put down, I don't look at my phone anymore for the rest of the night, and I just meditate, go to sleep,
great.
and brush up, get changed, meditate, go to sleep for probably 10, 20 minutes. And depending on my state of mind, like those meditations can get really beautiful. And then in the morning,
Is there a
literally
process you
when
follow?
I wake up, I don't look at my phone. I wake up, I don't look at my phone. I stretch and I meditate.
Is there a specific app for meditation or like type of meditation you do?
I like the Waking Up app.
Waking up?
Yeah, it's Sam Harris's meditation app. And I don't super love Sam's stuff. I like Henry Shookman and Stephen Bodian are my 2, and they're very different, but those 2, and Jaya Sare is really good too. I think, but
I'm
Henry
basic.
Shookman
I do
is my-
Headspace.
Yeah. Oh, Headspace. I just got sick of the guy's voice. I was just kind of like, it was the same fucking thing. Waking Up is there's such a diverse
Yeah. It's not
collection of practice that I just love that. But I think without that,
waking up.
I would have some. I need that. I need that.
Put it in
And
the
I just
show
need,
notes.
I need to simplify what I'm focusing on, just simplify it to like family, practice. The next thing I think will be like the Wim Hof breathing. Go to a good school, surround yourself with your classmates. So you just got to build a network, because other people will push you. If you run in packs, the pack will push you. And I think that you need that.
Into competitions, go to conferences.
Go to
I mean, it sounds like that they were pretty pivotal to
But I
your.
feel like you got to go and make the best use out of it. You got to be outgoing,
Meet
bold,
other people,
meet
introduce
other people.
yourself.
Don't just like send yourself there and then just don't talk to anybody or be too shy to talk to people.
That's hard though, right? I mean, even Jake and I
Hard.
hate meeting new people at conferences.
Was that a problem for you ever? Or have you always been just pretty gregarious?
No, it was super awkward when I graduated college, because there's holes in my development, There were holes in my development, and I was a little awkward, didn't understand societal norms in a lot of ways, and it took me a while to kind of become a normal person.
You're a vegan, you're not normal.
Yeah, it's vegan, the Humboldt County stuff, just like it's just
super crunchy.
I'm so obsessed with design, and it's such a niche thing. And I was a weird person, and it took me a long time to become a normal person. But I was always, I was just lucky. I graduated at a great time when the .com boom was happening. There was a ton of money in the Bay Area, and all the, what you see now with startups in AI and other industries before that, crypto, NFTs before that, it's these waves. That wave was the .com boom, and I was doing web design at a really experimental level, and was surrounded by a pack of amazing, European designers, that really taught me everything I needed to know. That was my college immersion was that, and I think you just gotta put yourself out there and make connections and just hustle. And if the hustle is, you understand that the hustle is real, good things will happen. You'll make things happen, but it's a total grind, and it's very hard.
You got to put yourself in position to be lucky.
Always kind of have your own, whatever it is, it's welding, woodworking, building things, whatever it is, like you should always have a hobby that you love to do that brings you peace.